Damn, bro, this shit's crazy.
Ayo, Muff, you going up. Ayo, Muff, you going up.
Damn, bro, this shit's crazy.
Burn Live, y'all. Burn Live, where we marijuanically go through conversation trying to ash out common sense. I almost maybe want to bring back my old slanging. Marijuanically, dang, I forgot that one. Marijuanically, something. I had a nice little marijuana one. But welcome to the Burn Live Show. Like I said, where we burn through conversation trying to ash out common sense. Today is Monday, and as you see up in my corner, what it is on Monday is my marijuana news day, where we go cover over news, marijuana stories, and laws to define of why we need to get our voting in order to do better. You know, these things does matter. Okay. So today I got a couple of stories to go over with you. A couple of illness things that happen in New York. Is always seem like trafficking, sicknesses, and things are major things that news coverages be covering when it comes to this. So I forgot to do one more thing, y'all. Hold on. But yeah, those are seem like the major coverages that we do go over. And we're going to be going over a couple of major stories today. These stories happened within this week. So, hold on 2 seconds, y'all. Just finishing sending out the invites. Yeah, so it's a lot of marijuana stories that have been happening. It seems like in these categories that we'll be covering, like I said, illness, sicknesses, and stuff like that. Without further ado, we are going to definitely start off with this illness because as I always was told that marijuana is good for us. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong, cures cancers and stuff like that. All of a sudden now that it's legalized, are we finding out more things that are so-called wrong? And with this description, I think it's best that we learn it, cover it, and see what's getting into it. Without that, let's get into it.
Areas say they are seeing quite a surge of patients with severely upset stomachs.
Health reporter Stephanie Soul is here with more on this very concerning trend.
It really is, guys. You know, doctors say this does not appear to be related to contaminated marijuana, and they're not sure exactly what's causing the syndrome or why it only strikes certain people.
Was the vomiting, the uncontrollable nausea. The only thing that makes you feel better is a bath or warm water. And I was like, wow, I'm like really sad that I never heard of this before.
37-year-old Taylor Armendariz describing a bout with a mystery illness that sent her to the hospital twice.
It's just unbearable.
She was finally diagnosed with something called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, known as CHS, that's linked to marijuana use.
I Googled it immediately when I got home, and it was like exactly what I was going through.
Emergency departments around the region are reporting a surge in cases of CHS.
I think now with legalization in many states, there's more access to it.
Dr. Alan Schubert with Virtua Health says the increase in cases is happening mainly in states where cannabis was legalized both medically and recreationally, which includes New Jersey and Delaware. How do we know that the symptoms are coming from marijuana use rather than just a stomach virus?
The abdominal symptoms seem to be stronger or more intense than you would see with someone who's got, kind of the stomach flu, so to speak.
Dr. Schubert says it's not clear how or why the cannabis causes the stomach upset and only strikes some users. It's usually diagnosed among heavy pot users, but it can also happen to occasional users.
We see it with, all kinds of marijuana, and no matter, what the agent is, whether it's inhaled or whether it's gummy.
He says the fact that hot showers and baths are helpful is another symptom doctors look for. Taylor, who lives in South Jersey, says when she stopped her daily habit of smoking pot, the syndrome went away. Now, health experts think some of the cannabis products from dispensaries might have higher THC levels, which might be causing these upset stomachs. Fortunately, it can be treated with anti-nausea medication. People can get rehydrated, but to watch out for it.
So
Rehydrated, dizziness, tiredness, need to take a shower to replenish the body. So obviously, for some of these people, these victims that are going through these cases, sound like they do have a bad case of the THC taking something natural, something normal outside of the body that is normally needed and used. And yeah, it does sound like you need to use less dosage of weed, pay attention to more of the marijuana that you are using, because it don't sound like it's very vibrant. Just saying. Just saying. If y'all agree with me, y'all do. If you don't, we do. Like I said, you see the results right here. We will dive deeper into this conversation. I did cover this last week, Monday. That's why I'm bringing it up again, because yet again, a lot of us is not hip to these symptoms and stuff like that. It's never been heard of. But understand, if you're feeling dizziness, upset stomach, or stuff like that, take a shower, milk. These things will help you cure yourself of these problems. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Georgia and this vaping thing, this is a news that happened 4 days ago. With vaping, it always seems like there's always something negative. Ever since vaping got exposed to having bad stuff in it, somebody put some bad drugs in it a while back. Maybe, I think this was like 4 years ago. Vape's been having a bad name, especially in the cannabis industry. I feel sad for most cannabis users when it comes to this. It's just getting a bad rep. And let's see what more bad information they're going to spread to us about vaping marijuana.
Cannabis restrictions are changing. More Georgians now qualify to use medical marijuana after Governor Brian Kemp's final stamp of approval on Senate Bill 220.
Atlanta News First reporter Chelsea Beimfohr is live at 5 at a dispensary in Cobb County. So, Chelsea, the expansion of Georgia's medical marijuana laws will also allow dispensaries to start selling some new products.
Yeah, starting on July 1st, medical marijuana users over 21 will be allowed to start using vapes to inhale the drug, and dispensaries like this one here in Marietta will also be allowed to start selling vaping devices and whole plant materials.
But yeah, it does help promote sleep for me.
Knees, back, just a multitude of orthopedic issues.
Some Georgians with chronic pain and sickness are rejoicing following Governor Brian Kemp's official signature on Senate Bill 220, which expands the state's medical cannabis program.
Medical marijuana is needed for people that suffer with all kinds of illnesses.
The bill adds new qualifying conditions like lupus to the law and allows those with a medical cannabis card to begin legally inhaling the drug via vape.
They're looking for instant relief. And so this particular form of the product, inhaled, actually goes straight into the bloodstream, and it allows for quicker relief for patients, whether it's cancer, PTSD, multiple sclerosis, or chronic pain.
Gary Long is the CEO of Botanical Sciences, Georgia's largest medical marijuana dispensary with 5 locations across the state. He serves customers like 29-year Army veteran Doug Matty, who suffer from both physical and mental pain after a lifetime of combat. He says the new vaping provision will help him tremendously.
It gets the relief the fastest, I think, to me.
The new law also replaces the current 5% THC potency cap with 12,000 milligrams of THC that a patient can possess at any one time.
I mean, that's what I was waiting on to see. Like, we gonna get something to activate through the system more quicker. Doesn't sound very safe, like how weed naturally kicks in. You know, you smoke it every 15 minutes, you smoke, you know, another 5 minutes kick in. Depends on your THC level. And then, you know, you get your feedback from the weed and your highs and whatever symptoms or whatever THC, sativa, indica that you're smoking on. But now they're saying, well, look, we're going to specifically go in, raise the level so you get a higher, quicker an effect. It sounds good, but until you realize that this is not from like us, it's not us growing, it's the pharmaceutical people. They don't sound too alarming.
10 milligrams will get someone very high. 40 milligrams is a lot for someone to take every single day. And if you just do the math, 12,000 divided by 40 milligrams a day, that is 300 days.
Michael Mumper, the executive director of Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy, says he's concerned about how much product patients will now have access to and that vaping is not FDA approved.
Just walk into this knowing I'm about to take a serious medicine and I better get a lot of information on how much I should take on a daily basis.
And while Governor Kemp does approve of this bill, and he says he knows that there are symptoms that medical marijuana can quell, he says he still does not support legalizing recreational marijuana use in Georgia. Reporting live in Marietta, Chelsea Bime for Atlanta News First.
And that's cool and that's good because, yet again, he's more focused.
You may not know it yet, but buried deep inside the new definition.
He's more focused on the medicine part of it. And a lot of states should go back and really focus on that. That should be the main necessarily reason of why marijuana is being used in your state and city. Now, me personally, I believe that, you know,
cannabis restrictions are
really watch what we do and what we invest ourselves in. This is a very good example of what's going on in this marijuana hunt for good medicine that's going to work good, better than Tylenol. A lot of people want to get off pills and stuff, cancers, patients, people that have strokes. I know all this stuff will help and all that. Now we're going to get into the more cynical part of the news, and I can't believe what type of news.
All right, stop for a minute.
I can't believe what type of news is going to pop up with. I promise you, this one is been to take the cake. Starting off with a mugshot, y'all. Marijuana News Mondays going down on the Burn Live show every Monday. Let's go.
All right, stop for a minute and take a look at this video. Kind of unbelievable when you think about it. 2 people slam an SUV right through that dispensary in Monroe.
That's right. Then they hop out and start pouring fuel all over the place, and things really go from bad to worse here when they mistakenly light themselves on fire. Lauren Costa got her hands on the video and shows us how the whole thing went down.
This is pretty crazy. Those suspects smashed through the front entrance of the shop right here. And then minutes later, their plan completely backfires. The whole thing caught on camera.
And this is right where he lit it. The other person was jumping back across, and he lit it as he was jumping back across, and the fire started here.
Mike Bahora is the owner of Pure Cannabis outlet in Monroe. At first, Sunday's break-in seemed like a simple smash and grab until he watched the video.
We've been here for over 3 years and have never had a break-in or anything like this. So it was quite a shock to everybody.
Surveillance video shows a Jeep crashing through the shop's front door. Two suspects hop out. One runs towards the back and grabs a handful of product from another room. The other starts pouring gasoline all over the counters, trying to make the business go up in smoke. Instead, they light themselves up. One of them still on fire as he runs through the parking lot.
It's definitely amateur hour for sure, thankfully for us.
At this point, it's great marketing. The shop's marketing team is going all in, posting parody videos online, and even buying gas cans to use as tip jars.
We're going to allow our bartenders to use them for tip jars, have some more fun with it.
Right now, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office is investigating this as an arson. They say the Jeep used to ram the store was reported stolen out of Detroit. In the meantime, Mike and his team say this doesn't feel random.
I pause it right here, y'all.
Stolen out of Detroit. In the meantime, Mike and his team.
I pause it right here because you just got a small glimpse of who doing this, who was behind this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we don't know who the person is, but we see the color of your skin there, brother. And if y'all don't, here's a close-up so you see a little better of what I see. Yeah, y'all see that. Y'all see that. Okay? I don't want to hear nothing. Y'all see that.
Say this doesn't feel random, questioning if they were targeted possibly by a competitor.
I never thought anybody would take it to this level, and maybe they didn't, I don't know, but you know, it definitely seems like it was targeted.
And the shop is open tonight. In fact, they didn't lose any hours of business after this fire. And as I mentioned, the sheriff's office, they are still looking for those two suspects. The owner telling me today that he is putting up $25,000 for anyone with information that leads to an arrest. Reporting live tonight, Lauren Kostick, Local 4.
Lauren, thank you.
All right, stop for a minute.
You would think somebody, like, they can't even turn themselves in to the hospital, not turn themselves in, but go to a hospital to even see about those burn wounds where they're real bad. They really got to take care of themselves. Tragedy. Look like I got an exclusive report that doesn't have nothing to do with marijuana, y'all. This news just dropped 9 minutes ago. So 9 minutes ago, a shooting looked like it happened in California. Exclusive stuff like this, I'm definitely going to cover. I do got exclusive channel for stuff like that. Yeah. I'm gonna cover this with you guys real quick. I know this doesn't have nothing to do with marijuana, but important is important. And this just dropped 9 minutes ago. Let's see what's going on out there in California, ladies and gentlemen.
Coming on the air as officials in San Diego are holding a news conference on a deadly shooting at the Islamic Center of San Diego. The Council on American Islamic Relations says at least one person was killed. We understand the San Diego police chief is speaking now. Let's listen
in our investigation, we've got Chief Scott Wallace going to let you know what occurred. We are going to have time for questions afterwards, and so please, Chief Scott Wallace.
This is every community's worst nightmare. I want to give you some preliminary information to put a lot of minds at ease. There is no further threat. Both suspects in this case are deceased. All of the kids are safe. Our hearts go out to the families that are in this moment being notified of what has happened to their loved ones. We have 3 confirmed adults that are deceased at the Islamic Center. There is a lot of preliminary information that we're going to try to highlight and cover, but understand it's going to take us some time to get accurate information out to everyone. Here's what we know so far. At about 11:43, we received a call of an active shooter at the Islamic Center. Within 4 minutes, officers arrived on scene and observed immediately 3 deceased, what appeared to be deceased victims out in front. They immediately began to deploy with an active shooter response into the mosque and adjacent school. At about the same time, we began to receive calls from just a couple blocks away that we had more active gunfire. Officers were also responding to that call for service at the same time. There was a landscaper that was doing his work that was shot at and fortunately was not hit. That was at about the 7100 block of Salerno, which is just a couple blocks from here. Moments later at the 3800 block of Hatton, officers were called to that location where they found a vehicle in the middle of the street with who we believe to be the shooters in this incident, both deceased. The circumstances that led up to this and the details of what happened and exactly which time it happened will come out in the days ahead. I can tell you, this is, in 28 years, this is the most dynamic and impressive response that I have ever seen in policing. We have every single police officer available throughout our county that dropped what they're doing and did exactly what they're trained to do: run towards gunfire. I could not be more proud, and I cannot express the gratitude, the willingness to step into harm's way in a moment like this. And I tell you what got me. Watching the kids come running out. Just thankful to be alive. I want to bring up Mark Remley from the FBI. Because of the Islamic Center location, we are considering this a hate crime until it's not. And at this point, we're going to work closely with the FBI to make sure that we are matching all the resources that we need for this investigation. So, Mark.
Islamic hate crime or the burger terrorists because of what? Now, I'm going to cover this more deeply on Fridays. Fridays, I go over political things and like that. I know by then more things will come out. I just wanted us to cover that, you know what I'm saying, see what's going on. This was just dropped 9 minutes ago, y'all. I had to, you know, some things are just, you know, you got to put up there what's going on like that. To give you more of an understanding, go in more details. Here's the CNN anchor coverage. It happened 32 minutes ago. Drop. So let's get into it.
Information from the San Diego police chief, specifically the timeline. What he said is just a little over 2 hours ago, authorities were called to the Islamic Center of San Diego due to reports of gunshots. He said they arrived within about 4 minutes, police did, and then found these 3 men victims in the parking lot of the mosque. He said authorities then went to try to enter the mosque, as they often do. They'll try to identify any potential shooter. But then police got calls of yet more shots fired at another area near the mosque. They then went to that location. They said they learned that there was a landscaper there who had been fired upon, but thankfully was not struck by bullets. But here, I have to admit, Jake, is the most strange, bizarre, however you want to describe it, part. Authorities say that they found 2 men ages 17 and 19 in a vehicle they believe to be the suspects. They believe they died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. That raises a lot of questions about, A, who those people are, but obviously what potential motivation there was here. We have had this question over the last couple hours, whether the shooter or shooters, plural, may have been associated with this mosque or whether this was complete, targeted violence from the outside. We did appear to get some indication of an answer to that from the police chief, because he said that they have now brought in the FBI, the San Diego field office. He said they are treating this as a hate crime until they've determined that it's not. And of course, what that signals to us is that that would not appear to be someone who was a member.
So he's not going to say nothing that we just found out during the actual hearing. Tragic. I think it said 5 has passed away. If I get more details, I'll cover this. This happened within, I'm assuming this morning, a couple hours from now, at a school in San Diego, California. Very, very tragic. Prayers and thoughts and wishes go out to all the families, and make sure they are okay, looked over, and make sure everything's okay. Other than that, y'all, back to the marijuana news and story and coverage. So, what's this? ABC had a sit-down coverage news interview, cannabis, marijuana, and Georgia lawmakers concern of proper laws. You would think that the fight for this marijuana thing would still be big and popular across the bay, that all 50 states are not legal. And you only see the push, heavy push in places that are not. This one, I do got to cover because I think this
are you the only one to be
from ownerships. Everyday average ownerships are definitely, I assume, are very powerful to me, very necessary, needed. Definitely should be explored, and that's why I'm so glad we cover these news stories and every Monday on the Burn Live Show. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back into this marijuana news story and coverage. Here's an interview of Georgia lawmakers trying to consider them getting legalized, recreational and marijuanically and recreation.
speaking or?
Oh, Angela Weston. She can speak.
Yeah, Angela and Weston.
And then what is
Did you
y'all's
read titles?
Yes.
That's what she was asking for, your title.
Oh, yeah. Co-founder and director of operations
and social
justice and advocacy.
Okay, amazing. So,
and then mine is co-founder and director of education.
okay, kind of what I talked about on the phone and on my email. I'm working on a story today about Governor Brian Kemp passing a law that would expand medical cannabis access to Georgians who need it in the state of Georgia. Can you just tell me a little bit about y'all's feelings about that? Now that this could help expand access to patients who need it.
You want to start?
You go.
Okay. We have We believe that it is a great start. And by it being a great start, meaning that it's not exactly what we would like, but it's a start to get the conversation started here in a very conservative state. We're happy to have taken a part of the advocacy as far as the expansion, as far as being involved with the part of the Blue Ribbon Study Committee. We took part as far as testifying and sharing insights from a science point of view, and which included bringing forth another method of ingestion, which allowed us to have full plant material for vaporization versus the 50% levels of THC in just an aerosol type vape or an oil type vape, because of people having issues with ingesting the MCT oil. I know Angela can go further with that.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons why we definitely did that, because there is a rare disease, but people do have it, where they're not able to metabolize oil. And so all we had was a low dose THC oil program. And we wanted to definitely expand that into something more robust of a program, so we could have more conditions, and also to have more products available for people to use. There's multiple ways that you can utilize cannabis, and edibles are not just the only way. So we wanted to have something where people who had a breakthrough pain, if you were utilizing an edible, inhalation and sublingual, basically under the tongue, are the quickest ways to be able to get the medicine in, to be able to relieve that pain, within minutes, as opposed to waiting for your body to metabolize the edible.
And is that
This is what we're talking about, where Trump decriminalizing marijuana. You have somebody able to actually go out there and do more research. And as you see, and as you heard in 2 stories that I have covered today, is the fact that raising the THC or finding another solution for the THC to be active in your body quicker and get strictly to the symptom in your body to help with the problem. Those are things that a lot of medicine people would like to do with marijuana. That sounds very beautiful and lovely to do with marijuana. And I'm for that. And if that's what's going to happen, I'm down. Okay, let me say it like that. I am very down. But yet again, I'm not going to lie when I say I'm very skeptical of things like this happening the proper way, in the right way. So yet again, I'm for it. Let's do it. Let's get the research out there, and let's see.
To waiting for your body to metabolize the edible.
And is that the biggest difference with this new law, expanding the method in which people can get the medical cannabis through now vapor process? I'm trying to find the right word to say. Now, instead of just metabolizing it, now people can use it through that use medical cannabis through like a vaping device.
Yes, with the vaporization, we learned about this particular method is using dry heat. And with the dry heat, it allows the patients to utilize the who might have to purchase the cannabis on a budget, which is very expensive. And with the expansion of what President Trump has done with the Schedule 3, an expansion where we'll still have to continue to work with, because since it's now considered a medication, that means we shouldn't be taxed for it. Because like right now, we're being taxed for our medication, and other pharmaceutical products aren't being taxed. But with that, we are able to medicate without fear of being incarcerated. And this is one great feat for us.
I wish right now, I wish we can do the follow-up of going into details of what she means by getting taxed. Like, what is the taxation for this cannabis that you're using? What do these numbers actually look like? Is it really that expensive to do it? Is it really unaffordable? Because that's what it really makes it sound like she's saying. And if that's the case, of the matter, we definitely want to do something about it, and seeing if we can regulate. Because when you're getting taxed, I mean, I looked out here and I looked at some of these taxes just on a gram. And the more potency, the more that it does, the quicker that it activates, the higher the price is. You know, so we're talking like a $10 gram. You might pay $11 to $12 for a gram. To an average day person, that is expensive. That's still why they're going to the streets and getting it off the streets. And when you do that comparison, you are taking it away from the medical research that I'm doing. I'm doing this research, but I can't get the product because I gotta get overtaxed in the stores, and so therefore the people, my patients, don't want it because they can't afford it. I wish that was more looked on too, as you're saying, but in this dry heat rub, dry heat, inhaling enhancement, I think is the proper way. I'm not sure. I wish you'd do a more follow up on that. I don't know. This is my first time watching this interview. I'm going over with you guys. Let's go.
And even with vaporization, one of the things that we basically brought up, and especially using the dry heat for those patients who are on a budget, once they decarb the flower, utilizing the dry heat, the flower is not burned away as if you did if you were smoking it. You actually be able to use that decarb flower after you've inhaled to make other products, like your tinctures, if you want to make salves, things like that. So that gives them a multiple use of that flower as opposed to just burning it away. And it's also healthier for you than burning when you're thinking about the carbons and those that when you're smoking with fire, you have less of that when it comes into the inhalation using a vaporization device.
Which is medically approved in the UK. There's the medically approved device that we hope for next year's legislation session to go ahead and introduce that so that we will be able to have it covered up under healthcare insurance. And that's why we work along with our national partner, Americans for Safe Access. We just got back from DC on the Hill. So it's a lot of things that takes place in trying to shape Georgia's medical cannabis program. You have to step outside the boundaries of the state so you can go ahead and make sure that your conversation is heard by your legislators, on the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of ties me into my next question. You mentioned at the beginning of the interview that this is a nice start. You kind of mentioned the changes you want to see or in the future in the next legislative session. What are some other progresses forward you want to see happen to help those who need medical cannabis in Georgia?
First of all, we want them to open it up so that other people can acquire licenses. We would like to see home grow because a lot of people prefer to have their own products and develop their own type of plant material, meaning like they're different what do you call it?
Cultivars.
And have your different terpenes there because we do believe that expansion is still needed. But this is a conversation and we want to make sure we highlight the fact that it's a start. This is not the finish line. Because it's not the finish line, we need to make sure that the legislators say, hey, yes, we have full plant material now, but we need to add more conditions and we need to, even though we have some people who would like to prefer to go towards the DC way of
the self-registration,
but we still have to be concerned about the as far as like having the pharmacists and your doctors involved with it because of some people are on medications that might have a drug-drug interaction. And so that's one of our
understanding that marijuana and your main prescription that a doctor prescribe you is going to probably have a chemically unbalanced effect on you. Sleepy, drowsiness, laziness, stomach ache has been seen earlier. There are a lot of symptoms that people don't really realize when they're smoking weed and taking other medicine, the effect that they have. That's why a lot of people in this category can't smoke weed and take their medicine. That's why they're like, I can't smoke weed because I'm on this, I'm on that. You know what I'm saying? It really does a number to myself, or I have to take medicine early in the morning and smoke weed late at night. So therefore the medicine and the weed, those in mix, you do go a lot of that. Now, when you look at dispensaries and places to research weed versus, hey, I want to open it up and say, hey, everybody, you just grow weed in your home, because yet again, I know some of you people out there don't like going outside. You can grow it better. You have a more of a symptom this way that's not looked at in the medical field yet. So therefore, you should be able to do the small research at home. And the only way you're doing small research at home, and if you are growing the plant yourself, therefore you can study the results and the outcome that you're looking for in the plant. Therefore, that's why a lot of people would love for recreational, but then you really got to look at the upside of recreational for as home growth. You got a lot of home growth, people growing up to ounces, pounds, and tons. That leads into more trafficking when things get a little tough. And you really got to watch things reaching the bars of, I want to do this for medical, but I don't want to get to a federal consequences because, you know, people out here are going to abuse. Now, that's just me. That's just how I think of it. As far as what part of the law do we want done more justifiable?
Our concerns too. So we want to expand it to where it include all conditions. And since it is a Schedule 3 now, that any one of these medical doctors here in Georgia can actually prescribe it, but they need more education. That's why we are here, to make sure that we're able to educate doctors. We have our lunch and learns, and we have our educational workshops and town halls that we have one coming up June 13th with our veteran partner. So, yeah.
If what I'm hearing is what I'm hearing, this is a very smart field they're in, a very expensive field that they chose to get in and had done the right research. Because if you're based on teaching doctors a way to prescribe weed to patients, I mean, I know you taxing. You're not giving this for free. Come on, man. Look at y'all. Y'all got suits, ties, nice office, label over there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gotta pay bills. I had this conversation with this person about, you know what I'm saying, economical, and do you believe the 1% should be stopped and tagged like that? These people are not working at the 1%. They're not 1%ers, of course, nowhere near it. But yet again, these people are very wealthy enough to make decisions and choices for their own, and also able to start a business. And yet again, if these people, and she's not here to answer this question, but I'm asking to y'all, successfully making them business successfully, should they have a tax bracket on what they're doing? Yet again, like I said, should everybody recreational be able to grow weed at home? I don't think so. That's just not a very logical thing to do. You're opening up trafficking, you open up people, you open up the market in other ways that is outside of their thinking realm that they probably have no concern about. Okay? And that's okay. And I think lawmakers think more like maybe how I think. I'm not sure. I don't quote me on that. I just know I think about both sides of the field the best way that I know how when it comes to stuff like this.
And we definitely wanted to be a more robust program for the doctors to be educated in this, and preferred that the providers would have the autonomy to be able to say when a patient can use it based upon their conditions, as opposed to legislators saying what conditions a patient would need. So if the providers had that, because they have that relationship, I would say, with the patient. And so they know from their medical experience, the different conditions, they know more about it. But of course, with the education of cannabis, they should be able to be the ones who would make the decision as to what that patient can use. There should be a conversation between the provider and that patient.
And you got obviously more, more than I do about this situation, but can you tell me a little bit about how medical cannabis can help, specific people with chronic conditions? I know this new law would help expand those with lupus to, be able to get medical cannabis. Can you just explain kind of just a little bit about how medical cannabis helps people, especially with chronic pain? I know a lot of people use it for arthritis or other conditions, but can you explain that for me?
Yeah, so basically, just to start off, just from a general basis, everybody has what's called an endocannabinoid system. Our body actually produces 2-AG and anandamide, which is our natural endocannabinoids. The cannabinoids that actually come from the cannabis plants are called phytocannabinoids plant. So they basically would do the same thing as the anandamide and the 2-AG as we use that. So it's good for inflammation. It's good for pain. And some of these diseases that people basically have or conditions that people have, inflammation is a big cause of the pain. So if you can reduce the inflammation, you can also reduce the pain. So it really helps in that way. It just basically connects with your CB1 and CB2 receptors. Thank you. Receptors. To be able to mimic what we automatically produce from our body. So basically, there are some who can't produce those two, or they don't produce enough of it. So being able to use the phytocannabinoid, you're basically being able to give your body what it needs, what it's missing, to help regulate and create that homeostasis that your body looks for.
I also was curious. My station is in Tennessee, but we cover Northwest Georgia, and that's I'm covering the story today. In my research, we only have one medical cannabis pharmacy in Northwest Georgia. Do you think, you guys mentioned this is a step in the right direction? With this, new law and maybe potential new laws in the future, you think that could potentially expand to more, medical cannabis pharmacies in our region, or at least in my region?
Funny you should say that. A couple of years ago, they actually wanted to put it in all pharmacies. However, the DEA stopped it. They sent letters. They sent that, that naughty letter to the pharmacists. However, now that it's a Schedule 3, yes, we do believe that more pharmacists will expand, because I know it was one in Augusta that I know that's way over there, but yeah, Augusta. And I know we have one in Atlanta, Dr. Hang. She's a pharmacist that's like downtown Atlanta. I'm pretty sure more pharmacists. We have some here in Austell. So I don't know if they've come online, but we have some that are, we actually have some. Yeah, it's another pharmacy too, Lotus Pharmacy. There are quite a few, but if we try our best to keep it updated on our website, for pharmacies and providers and stuff like that, so that people will know. However, that's another thing we want to make sure that's included there, so that we'll be able to have the medications delivered, because being a patient, you're sick, you don't want to have to always go to a dispensary. We want to have the option, just like at CVS, they're able to deliver your meds. We want to have the comfort of having it delivered, because being a caregiver is very difficult, because caregivers have to work, but in some cases, they have to go pick up the medication. But if your patient is at home, then that's another.
These are the type of people to put in legislation that has your best interest in the marijuana field at heart. When you want somebody to represent you politically in certain aspects, these people, these ladies, are the type of people for marijuana who know what they're talking about, who has the feel, who started a business, who was successful, who should be in the political making laws for the cannabis or helping making laws for the cannabis to move forward in the right direction. Just saying. Just saying.
Story. So that yeah, we were actually I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying, yeah, it's expanding into pharmacies so that that more it's readily available for everybody, for more people, I would say. And I think with the changing of this new with the cannabis program now and the law being signed, that's going to be able to happen. Specifically because now I think the even the dispensaries that we have, you'll be able to get more people on the registry now that we've added a few more conditions, and now that we can have more of a whole plant. So I think that's going to bring more people out, which is going to also cause for expansion. And I feel that we do need to have that expansion, especially in the rural areas. Because one of the things that we were basically talking about, like she was saying, that everybody can't get to a pharmacy, everybody can't get to a dispensary. And so having something closer and also having the either mail-in or special deliveries would be a great way to be able to do that, so that people can get what they need, those who are further out.
And with that, that was one of the issues that we did discuss with legislators while we were discussing this bill and testifying about this bill. That they wanted to put the caps of how much you could have maintained, because one of our major concerns was the mandatory minimums, because they had mandatory minimums. If you had over 20 fluid ounces of THC oil, you could be subjected to $5,000 fine, 10 years in jail. It was so many things that would deter people from trying to be a part of this program. But now that this program has expanded, it's open. And now that it is a Schedule III, we can have access of carrying a firearm, because at this point in time, they cannot discriminate against us. They can't discriminate.
I've been waiting to hear that. That's the second time that I heard that when it comes to marijuana license and firearm. That is a very deeply concern for me. Okay. That's something that is very touchy, something that I hold dear to me when it comes to the legalization of marijuana, that at first that was highly overlooked and is finally being stared in the face. This is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what needs to happen.
Against us because we are patients and it's a Schedule III, and now that fear of not being able to carry a firearm without being afraid of being arrested, then this is great for medical cannabis patients. Those on the other hand who are looking to profit from I guess adult use, that's a whole nother conversation. Our concern is about the patients at this moment. And, how can you tell a patient that is suffering chronically, I'm upset because I want to make money off of this. I want to have fun. I want to have adult use versus,
The difference between recreational usage and medical usage for as their concerns and what strives them to do this work every day. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, these are the type of people that you want to put in legislation. These are the type of people that you want to take all the way to the big house as far as you can go, that represent you and your interests in the marijuana field. I don't care what their parties is. That's really not my concern. I don't care. I care about their needs, and their wants matches my needs and wants. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, anytime that you're watching this. I appreciate you watching this. And with that, I say, have a good day.
This motherfucker is locked.
I'm in love, baby.